Just now, Catherine, Princess of Wales, was caught delivering a private message directly to King Charles, and his reaction stunned everyone inside the palace. No cameras, no staff briefing, just a quiet note that reportedly left the king completely speechless. What did she say? The secret message. How it was caught. In a palace built on discretion, the quietest moments often carry the most weight, and this one did. Just days ago, Catherine, Princess of Wales, reportedly delivered a private message directly to King Charles III, and the way it was done has left insiders whispering. This wasn't a public announcement, a press release, or part of a royal event. It was something far more personal, a hand-delivered note, discreetly passed behind closed doors, far away from the cameras and microphones. According to multiple royal sources, only a handful of senior aides were aware of the message's existence. There were no scheduled meetings, no press briefings, and no hints that anything unusual was taking place. Yet somehow word of the message leaked, and once it did, speculation inside the palace reached a boiling point. The moment couldn't have been more delicate. The royal family is currently navigating intense public pressure, facing scandals, strained relationships, and growing calls for modernization. Against this backdrop, the idea that Catherine, known for her calm presence and carefully measured appearances, had chosen to send a message directly to the king was nothing short of explosive. Insiders described the note as something Catherine had prepared personally, without press involvement or external advisors. It wasn't drafted by her communications team. It wasn't run through palace channels. It was Catherine's words, her thoughts, and her timing, all deliberate. Radar Online reported that the message was not aggressive or emotional, but clear, purposeful, and full of meaning. The Times of India echoed the same. It was a note meant to be private, but once it was delivered, the silence surrounding it became the loudest sound in the palace. Some sources say the note may have been passed through a trusted aide late in the evening, possibly during a quiet moment at Clarence House or during a private gathering. The details remain murky, but what's clear is that Catherine intended it to be seen by only one person, King Charles himself. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. In a family that values protocol, Catherine bypassed the traditional channels. She went straight to the king, and whatever she said in that message reportedly left Charles speechless. Transition. But now that the note's existence has come to light, the question everyone is asking is, what did it say? And why now? Because, according to those close to the palace, this wasn't just a letter. It was a message with a mission. What we know. The message's tone and possible intent. Though the full contents of Catherine's private message remain sealed behind palace walls, several insiders have given glimpses into its tone. And it's nothing like the public has seen from the Princess of Wales before. Described by one close source as quiet but pointed, the message wasn't casual or ceremonial. It was deliberate, crafted to speak clearly, without anger, but with unmistakable purpose. Reports from Radar Online and Tatler suggest the letter carried themes of change, reflection, and healing. It's said to touch on the current state of the royal family, a need to step away from old patterns, and a hope for a more unified future. At a time when public trust in the monarchy is being tested, Catherine may be gently nudging the king toward reform, accountability, and connection. Some insiders believe the message was a subtle call for unity, possibly encouraging King Charles to bridge long-standing divides within the family. A senior aide hinted that it may have included references to estranged royals, though no names have been confirmed. One staffer reportedly described it as an olive branch with a backbone, kind, but not soft. Others interpret the note as a quiet warning, not dramatic, but firm. Perhaps a reminder that the monarchy is under the public microscope, and the usual no-comment approach may no longer be enough. According to the Times of India, the tone was calm, emotionally grounded, and quietly authoritative. It's important to remember, Catherine is not known for making personal statements. Her public image has been shaped around dignity, poise, and restraint, which makes this message even more powerful. If she spoke directly to the king, without press, without advisors, it means she had something urgent to say, and it means she wanted it heard. One palace observer noted, "This wasn't Catherine acting as a princess. This was Catherine acting as a future queen." Transition. And with that kind of bold move, in the middle of royal turbulence, the timing couldn't be more telling. Because this wasn't just about what was said, it was about when it was said. Why it matters. Context within recent royal turmoil. To understand the weight of Catherine's private message, you have to look at the moment it arrived. Because timing is everything. The year 2025 has been nothing short of turbulent for the royal family. From scandal-laced headlines to fractured relationships and growing public scrutiny, the monarchy has found itself under siege from multiple directions. In recent months, the spotlight hasn't just been on former royals, it's been on the institution itself. Critics have accused the firm of being out of touch, too secretive, and slow to adapt. Amidst this noise, Catherine's message didn't land in silence. It landed in a storm. According to Tatler, the palace has been quietly restructuring its image, trying to lean into themes of empathy, modern values, and unity. But words only go so far. What Catherine's message did, privately but deliberately, was reinforce that direction from within. It reminded the king that true leadership starts at home, and that healing inside the palace may be just as important as polishing its public face. This is why the message matters so much. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't crafted for public applause. It was personal. And yet, it could have massive public consequences. If its contents were ever revealed, or even hinted at, they could reshape how people see Catherine, not as a silent royal wife, but as someone who is actively guiding the future of the monarchy from behind the curtain. One royal commentator explained it best. She's not just a figurehead anymore. Catherine has stepped into the arena, not loudly, but effectively. It also shines a light on how power works inside the palace. Royal influence doesn't always come from titles or headlines. Sometimes it's expressed in notes, conversations, and the decisions made when no one is watching. And because the palace has said nothing, the silence itself has become part of the mystery, inviting more questions, more theories, and more pressure for answers. Transition. But before the media got wind of it, before the story left palace walls, there was one place where the impact was felt immediately, inside the royal household, where the reactions were anything but ordinaries. Reaction inside the palace: shock, silence, and speculation. When Catherine's message quietly reached King Charles, it didn't just make waves. It sent a shock through the palace corridors. According to reports, several senior aides were caught completely off guard. One insider told the Times of India, "We didn't expect this. Not from her, and not now." That reaction says everything. Some staff reportedly assumed the note would be ceremonial or supportive. But as soon as its serious tone became clear, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Meetings were suddenly quiet. Conversations turned to whispers. People who had seen even a glimpse of the letter's delivery were instructed to remain silent. The royal rule of discretion kicked in hard. Behind the scenes, there were two camps forming: those who saw the message as bold and necessary, and those who feared it could stir internal tensions. One palace aide reportedly warned colleagues not to speak about the message at all, stating, "This is not something we let slip." That warning only added to the intrigue. Still, as always, rumors found a way to surface. Some insiders began to speculate that the message could be about rebuilding broken bonds, perhaps urging the king to consider reconciling with estranged family members. Others thought it might involve disapproval over recent decisions, possibly around royal image or internal conflicts. No one could say for certain, but everyone felt its impact. One source described the overall mood as tense, controlled, and watchful, as if the entire household was holding its breath, waiting to see how Charles would react. And that's the key detail. He hadn't responded, at least not publicly, not even internally, in any visible way. The lack of an immediate reply, even within the palace, only deepened the sense that something deep and personal had been communicated, something that didn't require public discussion, but demanded serious reflection. As one longtime staffer put it, when the king doesn't answer right away, it's not because he's ignoring it. It's because he's still thinking. Transition. And while the palace doors remained tightly shut, the outside world was already waking up to the story, and it didn't take long for the public reaction to explode. Public reaction. Speculation runs wild online and in media. Once word of Catherine's private message leaked to the press, the reaction outside the palace was instant and frenzied. Within hours, royal blogs, tabloids, and social media platforms were flooded with theories, questions, and emotional takes. The story had no confirmed details, yet that only made it more powerful. The public couldn't get enough. Across social platforms like X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, royal watchers began dissecting every known detail. When was it delivered? What was it about? Why now? Hashtags like #CatherineNote, #RoyalMessage, and #KingSpeechless began trending, sparking millions of views and comment threads. Some believed the message was a peace offering, a secret attempt by Catherine to urge Charles to reunite the family, possibly involving Prince Harry, or even a broader call for internal reconciliation. Others leaned toward a more dramatic theory, that it was a warning, or even Catherine drawing a line over how certain matters were being handled behind the scenes. Tabloids ran wild with it. Headlines screamed, "Kate's private note to King Stun's palace." Future Queen delivers message that shakes Charles. Possible scenarios. What could be hidden behind the message? With no official details, and only carefully placed insider whispers, the world has been left to guess what Catherine's private message to King Charles might contain. But make no mistake, the silence is strategic, and that silence has opened the door to multiple powerful possibilities. One leading theory is that it was a reconciliation plea. Catherine may be urging the king to heal old wounds within the royal family, perhaps even reaching across the divide to Prince Harry or other estranged relatives. The timing fits. With public pressure mounting and support for the monarchy wavering, unity could be a message the king needed to hear, especially from someone so respected. Another theory leans toward warning. With scandals bubbling beneath the surface and royal headlines spinning out of control, Catherine might be urging Charles to take stronger control of the narrative, or even rethink who he's placing his trust in. Some insiders believe it could be a personal boundary being set, a reminder that the old way of staying silent during controversy no longer works. But there's also a chance the note was deeply personal, a message not about the crown, but about Catherine herself, her health, her family, her view on the pressure mounting on their generation of royals. After all, being the future queen comes with weight few can understand, and if Catherine felt the moment required honesty, she may have chosen to confide in the one man who could make change happen. Some royal observers believe the message might mark a strategic pivot. Catherine, often seen as a quiet supporter, may now be stepping into her own authority, not as William's wife, but as a shaping voice in the future of the monarchy. Quiet power moves in private moments, and this could be one of them. Of course, there's always the possibility that it's all of the above, carefully blended, thoughtfully written, and impossible to ignore. As one insider said quietly, "This wasn't Catherine speaking to the king as a daughter-in-law. This was a royal speaking to her sovereign, and maybe to her future." Transition. And if that's true, what happens next could either make this moment historic or bury it forever behind the palace gates. Royal family rocked by secret letter. Media outlets began inviting royal commentators and historians onto live segments, each offering their own theories. One analyst on GB News said, "If Catherine is stepping forward like this, it's a game changer. She's always been the quiet force. Now she's making moves." For many fans, the idea of Catherine speaking directly and privately to the king in such a critical moment only increased their respect for her. She was seen as measured, smart, and strategic. But for critics of the monarchy, it became another point of scrutiny. Why is the palace hiding the contents? If it's so important, why the silence? The lack of any official response only made things worse. In the royal vacuum, speculation became fact for many, and the mystery itself became the story. As one viral post read, "When Catherine speaks, even privately, the whole kingdom listens." Transition. But beyond the headlines and social buzz, the real weight of this message lies in its possibilities. Because behind those palace walls, it could mean far more than the public can imagine. What could happen next? Scenarios to watch out for. Now that the existence of Catherine's private message is public knowledge, the palace stands at a crossroads, and every possible next move carries weight. The most explosive outcome would be a leak from inside. All it takes is one staff member, one journalist with the right connection, or one misplaced whisper, and the entire message could hit global headlines overnight. If that happens, the monarchy won't be able to control the story, and the fallout could be immediate. Another possibility is that the palace chooses to bury the moment completely. They've done it before. By refusing to comment, refusing to confirm details, and waiting for the press cycle to move on, they could let the mystery fade on its own. But given how hungry the public is for answers, and how unusual Catherine's action was, silence may only make the curiosity burn hotter. There's also a chance that Catherine or King Charles decides to address the message publicly, but in a softened way. This could take the form of a new public initiative, a speech about unity, or a carefully phrased statement that hints at the letter's themes without revealing its content. It would be a way to acknowledge the moment without exposing everything inside it. A more subtle scenario could come through upcoming royal engagements. A sudden joint appearance, a warm gesture, a surprising inclusion or exclusion of certain family members. The public will analyze everything. Even a small shift in the royal calendar could be interpreted as the ripple effect of Catherine's message. And finally, there is the simplest and most unsettling possibility. Nothing happens at all. The note stays private. The king reflects silently. The palace carries on as usual. the public never learns what was said. The moment becomes royal mythology, another hidden chapter whispered about but never confirmed. Whatever path unfolds, one thing is certain. This message has already changed the atmosphere around the monarchy. Everyone, inside and outside the palace, is watching for the next move. Transition. And that next move may mark a deeper shift, one that reveals just how much the royal family is changing behind the scenes. Why this could mark a turning point. Royals evolving behind the scenes. Catherine's private message isn't just another royal whisper. It could be the start of a quiet evolution inside the monarchy. For decades, the royal family has operated behind layers of tradition, controlled silence, and emotional reserve. But Catherine breaking protocol to send a direct personal note to King Charles signals something new. A willingness to face difficult issues head-on instead of letting them linger. This moment suggests the monarchy may be shifting toward a more modern, emotionally aware style of leadership. Catherine, long admired for her poise, is stepping into a deeper role, not simply as the future queen, but as a strategic thinker shaping the direction of the family behind closed doors. Her influence isn't loud or flashy. It moves through quiet power, delivered through private conversations and carefully chosen words. It also exposes a truth the public rarely sees. Royal decisions aren't always made in grand meetings. Often, they begin with private letters, subtle signals, and honest messages exchanged away from the cameras. Catherine's note proves she understands exactly how to navigate this world and how to use her voice when it matters. For the public, this moment lifts the curtain slightly, revealing real relationships, real tensions, and real attempts at repair within the firm. If her message pushes the family toward unity or meaningful change, it could mark the beginning of a more open, relatable monarchy. Transition. But even with all these signs of evolution, one question still dominates the conversation. How did King Charles respond, and what does his silence truly mean? The biggest question: what does Charles think? Inside the palace, the only reaction that truly matters is King Charles's. And insiders say his response to Catherine's private message was pure, stunned silence. Those present described him as completely still, not angry or distressed, but genuinely speechless. A rare moment for a man trained from childhood to maintain unwavering composure. One aide recalled, "The king didn't say a word. He just stared at the page." What could provoke such a reaction? Some believe the note confronted issues Charles has long avoided: strained relationships, public dissatisfaction, or decisions that continue to impact the monarchy's stability. Others say he was moved by Catherine's tone, calm, firm, and deeply compassionate, urging him to reflect and push toward unity at a time when the royal family feels more fragile than ever. It wasn't a challenge, one palace source noted. It was a wake-up call. There's also quiet speculation that Charles may now be re-evaluating his priorities, reconsidering connections he's allowed to fray. Yet, true to his cautious nature, he remains publicly silent. As one royal watcher put it, silence doesn't mean disagreement. It means he's weighing the consequences. And now the world watches, waiting to see whether this private moment will remain hidden or trigger a public shift. Transition. But whether the king chooses action or silence, one question hangs in the air. Will this message stay buried, or one day rewrite royal history? Final suspense. Will the message ever see the light of day? Now, with the entire palace on edge and the public desperate for answers, one question hangs heavier than all the rest. Will Catherine's private message to King Charles ever be revealed? At this moment, the truth remains locked away, known only to a tiny circle of senior palace staff, and none of them are speaking. The letter has become a kind of royal legend overnight, a secret whispered about, but never confirmed. The palace has two choices: keep it hidden forever, or release it when the moment feels safe. If it stays sealed, it will join the long list of royal mysteries, stories that live in shadows, growing bigger with every passing year. But if it's ever made public, even in a redacted form, it could rewrite royal history, revealing a side of Catherine the world has never seen. Bold, strategic, and unafraid to say what needs to be said. Insiders warn that the contents might expose vulnerabilities, challenge old decisions, or force the monarchy to confront changes it has delayed for too long. That possibility alone may be why the note remains under such tight protection. As one palace confidant quietly admitted, some messages aren't meant for the public. They're meant to move the people who can change things. But secrecy has its price. The longer the silence continues, the more the world imagines, debates, and speculates. And every unanswered question strengthens the message's power. So for now, the letter remains hidden, tucked away behind palace walls, shaping conversations we cannot hear and decisions we cannot see. Whether it stays private or one day emerges into the light, one thing is clear: Catherine's words have already changed the royal landscape. And until the day the truth is revealed, if it ever is, this moment will stand as one of the most intriguing mysteries of the modern monarchy. With the message still hidden and Charles refusing to comment, the mystery only grows. Was it a warning, a plea, or a turning point for the monarchy? Until the truth emerges, this private note will remain the most talked about secret in the royal world, and its impact is only beginning.